Hey, just give me 5 minutes to show you something amazing. In this video, either before or after a quick lesson full of traps, I'm going to be testing the Bowdler attack in real games across different time controls. And I'm talking about 3-minute blitz, 2-minute bullet, and ultra fast 1-minute bullet, or even less. But which time control truly favors the Bowdler attack? Well, stick around, we'll find out against real opponents on leeches. Let's dive in. So, the Bowdler attack. This confuses a lot of Sicilian players. Trust me with all your nails. After e4 and pawn to c5, instead of playing the most predictable knight f3 move, you go bishop c4. I know most geniuses out there think this is a boring opening to play against the Sicilian. Is not the best line to play. Yes, I know, but the fact that it's not a blunder move and still gives an evaluation of 0.0, that means it is still playable. So with bishop c4, we are just trying to stop pawn to d5 after black plays pawn to e6 in advance, by the way. So to stop that, we need to play queen e2. The game is still very much equal. You can ask Stockfish. Black can't play d5 because we can gladly win a free pawn. They can't take back, as you can see. You're going to run into this very often, especially in blitz and bullet. Knight f6, pawn takes. You're just up a pawn for nothing. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, bishop e7, knight f3, and castle shot. Bingo. So that's the whole idea of playing bishop c4 first. We just want to develop the last squad bishop out of the pawn chain, put the queen on e2, and start playing chess. If black plays knight ge7 first, preparing for pawn to d5, again you can just go knight c3, stopping d5. I mean, they can't play d5 even when the knight is on e7. Point is, you can still take after pawn takes. They won't be able to take after knight takes. If you think about it, even better, bishop takes d5. In this particular position, they can't take. If bishop e6, you have bishop takes b7. g6, as an example, you go queen e5. Look at that. Anyway, so after knight ge7, you still go knight c3. If knight c6 comes, you know they want to play knight d4, so knight c6 equals knight f3. If a6, whenever you see a6, just prepare to go pawn to a4 to stop b5. Bingo. Note how black can't still play pawn to d5 due to pawn takes. That's the power of our queen on e2. If they play g6, you can even go pawn to e5 if you want, so that maybe d5 can be made with ampersand, opening the center. Now here is a little trap that made me fall in love with the Bowdler attack. After pawn to g6, you want to play pawn to e5. Either ways, black is going to continue with bishop g7. And now guess what? This is when you play knight e4, obstructing the vision of your queen. Now this creates an impression as if black can simply take on e5. After all, they're just one move away from capturing on f3 with check. But this is when you can surprise them with the move knight d6 check, winning their free knight just like that. I've won a lot of games using this trap in the Bowdler attack, you guys. So now you know another reason of developing the queen's knight is to play knight e4 and knight d6, sacrificing the e5 pawn. Always remember this pawn move, pawn to e5 after bishop g7 or before bishop g7. Sometimes after you play knight e4, black may take with their bishop on e5 first. You see, once again, you can still capture that, and after knight takes, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to walk away with a free piece, either the knight or the bishop. So this is one beautiful trap that introduced me to the Bowdler attack. If it doesn't happen, play chess. Once again, if your plans don't work, then play chess. Follow the basics. Anyway, you see, sometimes after e4, c5, bishop c4, e6, and queen e2, your opponents may start with pawn to s6, maybe trying to go pawn to b5 next. Always remember this, s6 equals pawn to a4 to stop b5 in advance. If knight c6, once again, remember that knight c6 equals knight f3 to stop knight d4. Again, black can't play d5. There's this other knight maneuver where black plays knight e7 instead of knight f, because they know you have pawn to e5 in the near future. With knight ge7, black is now preparing to go pawn to d5 for sure. So seeing this, what I love doing is to play pawn to d3 immediately, so that if d5 comes, I simply go bishop b3. And it makes sense, because if pawn takes, I can just recapture with my d pawn, maintaining my pawn structure and all that. They don't have to do that. If they play something like g6 maybe, wanting to fianchetto their bishop, I go knight c3. Or what about pawn to d4? Or I go knight b1. I just wanted to provoke black to overextend their pawns, because pawns don't go back, right? So now I have a new square for my knight. That's where I want to put it. For example, bishop g7, knight b d2, castle short, and knight c4. Nothing can harass my knight here. Pawn to b5, I'll capture and win the rook. It's all about getting more central space and control. If they play pawn to e5, maybe I would even consider playing a5 to stop b5 permanently. I also have moves like h4, h5 if you think about it. So with the Bowdler attack, you are not winning straight away in the opening stage, but you're going to have a balanced game, a balanced position, if I can say that. Now, before I play 3 games featuring the Bowdler attack, after bishop c4 and this, let me say 1 or 2 things here. Knight c6 equals knight f3. You want to challenge that queen's knight like this, so that if they play knight d4, you just take. Don't allow them to harass your queen. If you see knight f6 on the board, you have an option to play knight c3 instead of playing e5. I mean, that's a computer move. So knight c3 is stopping d5. Still, if bishop e7, now this is when it makes sense to go pawn to e5. Same stuff. What's off this time, they can't play knight d5 due to knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes. We are just doing great in this position. There is no pawn on e6. So black won't do that. After pawn to e5, they better play something else like knight g4. But now we can simply go h3, chasing that knight away. Who does this in the Sicilian defense, I mean? And now we can safely put our king to safety. If black tries to copy us, here is how we start our attack. So d4, again, this clear and sacrifice if pawn takes. First we go knight b5. That's how we win back this pawn, by the way. You just go knight b5 as in the Budapest, while keeping an eye on the knight on h6. If you think about it, if they play knight f5, your bishop isn't doing anything along this diagonal. It's blocked. So you go bishop d3. You want to take that knight. a6, bishop takes. If pawn takes knight, well and good. You just retreat your bishop back to d3. It will be very active along this diagonal. And this is what I'm going to be testing in today's video. So I'm going to be challenging random opponents on lichess. I'll start with a 3-minute blitz match, then move on to a 2-minute bullet match, and finally conclude with a 1-minute bullet match. And hey, don't just watch. That's not encouraging at all. To keep this channel alive, you can simply share this video, hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have nothing to say, just type "Thank you, Kaspa" in the comment section down below. Lastly, if you want to go through my study PGNs, such as the one I'm using in this study, you can visit my Patreon page. The link is in the comment section down below. Okay, so pawn to e4. The Sicilian defense. Let's go with the Bowdler attack, bishop c4. Yeah, so you can see pawn to e6, my opponent is preparing to play pawn to d5. So this is where you are required to play queen e2, pinning the e6 pawn in advance. So there's no pawn to d5 because I'll just take. Knight c6 always goes together with knight f3. Don't let anyone lie to you. Okay, so my opponent just played knight f6. Right, so in this specific position, I love advancing my pawn to e5. But it's not clear what to do next after knight d5. So perhaps you can try the move d3, just to pave the way for your dark squared bishop. Simple development. Oh, maybe I should have started with knight c3 first, but even this is okay, because if pawn to d5 happens, I'll just take still. So there we've seen pawn to s6. And now this is when I can play pawn to e5. It makes sense now. So bishop b3 as always. You know, let me go bishop f4 now. Oh, let me attack the d5 pawn. In some ways, I'm just allowing black to advance their pawn so that I can have a place for my knight in the near future. So free up my dark squared bishop first, then put my knight there someday. Bishop e7, then knight bd2. Simple development. Is this the Sicilian defense that you guys fear the most? And you know what? I can do anything I want here. Be aggressive, pawn to h4 if I want. I still have the move knight e4 coming. You see how powerful my e pawn is. Black can't do a lot of stuff. And look at this. I mean, simple strategy, you guys. I just want to lift my rook. No need to castle short. I don't want to play a boring game. So the secret in the Bowdler attack is just to strengthen your center. Overguard your e5 pawn. Let's go knight g5. I don't see much happening on the queen side. Imagine if bishop takes, I have pawn takes and queen h5, mate on h7. Bishop b7, I can go queen h5. There's a checkmate here. What was my opponent thinking? Oh. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's go knight f3. At this point, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just, pushing my pieces. I still have knight back to e4. Saving my last squared bishop dynamically. What is my queen doing on h5? I mean, anyway, still have a game. Let's straight. I have queen takes h6 in the near future, if you think about it. Time is ticking. I have all sorts of, sacrifices in this position. That's making my opponent to overthink. I can take. That was a very bad move by my opponent. Uh-oh. Not this. So knight takes. Check and mate. Okay, so that was a simple game for me. And that was the Bowdler attack, by the way. Where did I go wrong? I think I missed a move in this position. After knight f6, I should have played knight c3. Not what I did. Lesson learned, time to move on. So the next game will be a 2-minute bullet match featuring the Bowdler attack. Still watching without subscribing? Come on. The more you subscribe, the more you encourage me to do more and review more stuff. Anyway, let's go. e4. Oh, the Sicilian Defense. So I want to play the Bowdler attack, beginning with the move bishop c4. Okay, there we've seen knight c6. Now the plan is to go knight f3. Whenever you see knight c6, just play knight f3, just as I mentioned. Pawn to e6, my opponent wants to play d5 next. So this is the right time for me to play queen e2 to stop d5, because I'll just take. Okay, knight f6. You see, these are situations where you want to play pawn to e5 if you want. Also, knight c3, pawn to d3, b3 are all playable moves. e5 is just an attacking move if you think about it. What to do next? I'm thinking of playing pawn to c3. Now I'm afraid of knight f4. So maybe it is safe for me to play d3 first. And bishop b3. Bishop e7 by Black KaspaChess. This is a rated match, by the way. If I lose, I'll lose everything. I have everything to lose. My opponent won't lose anything, even if I win. That's just how chess works. This rating thing. Now it is time to go d4. And then pawn takes. I don't think that was a nice continuation. Let's challenge that knight. Knight takes, pawn takes. My opponent is doing everything possible to bring me back into the game. By the way, if bishop takes happened, I was just going to play g4 or something like that. I love doing this stuff. Knight c6. Now I can safely go knight g5. That was the plan behind pawn to h4. So h6. I have this. Want to checkmate my opponent. By the way, if pawn to g6, I have knight takes f7. Simple tactic, king takes, and then this, then checkmate on the next move with my dark squad bishop. Yep, so that was a 2+2 bullet match against the 1700 rated player. I just gained 1 elo. Anyway, so not the perfect Bowdler attack, by the way. Maybe I did not play that very well, but I guess you have some ideas. Let's move on to a 1-minute bullet match. Let's go the Bowdler attack. I'm playing against a 2801 rated player. Queen e2 to stop d5. I need to be very fast. Knight c3. Again to stop d5. Now I can play e5. Knight f3. Then take with ampersand. That's the whole idea. Guess knight back to f3. Bishop e3. I'm just waiting for black to cast a shot for me to sacrifice my light squad bishop. So let me play a3, even though black can still play bishop b4 because I can't take due to queen takes. So let me just cast a shot anyways. Taking the dark squad bishop now. Can I beat this guy with my Bowdler attack? Let's take that sniper bishop out of the game. Wow. Oh, I thought I was losing a piece. Let's defend everything. Check. Check. And let's do this. I'm going to beat this guy. Might beat this guy. Damn. Check. Ooh, check. What? I just defeated a 2800 rated player with the Bowdler attack. Why?